Hi, everybody. Thanks for listening. I'm Jenny. I'm a life coach. And today I'm going to talk about how empaths can find more achievement and success. And I think this is a big problem for empaths because a lot of empaths are afraid of our own power. We can see a lot more deeply than other people. We can read other people really well. And we know that that comes with a lot of power that we're usually muting because we don't want to use it for the wrong reasons. We don't want to use it for evil. Um, we interact with narcissists who are very good at reading people, but they're using it as a manipulation tool. And so we have this very strong intuition that we know it's like we're kind of scared at how easily we could take advantage of people if we wanted to. But part of being an empath is not wanting to do that. But what happens then out of this fear is that we mute our own power instead. And a lot of empaths end up living from a very disempowered place. And so I want to talk about how empaths can really take a lot of that power back for themselves. So the more deeply we can see into the people, the easier it would be to destroy them. And so we have to be very careful with how we wield that intuition and that power. Empaths are a lot smarter and more gifted than most of the population, but also very often less successful than a lot of the population. And that's because a lot of the people who are successful either aren't smart enough to doubt themselves, don't overthink like we do, and a lot of people are just more comfortable with power. So, someone who's not very intelligent might have a lot of power because they're just more comfortable with it. It doesn't really have anything to do with their level of intelligence or giftedness. It's just how comfortable they are playing with those power dynamics. But I believe that people who are gifted with strong intuition and a strong moral compass deserve to also be successful. And so if you don't want power, if you're scared of power, that's a very disempowered way to live. And living in a disempowered way is a great sign that you need to kind of step into your power. What is power actually? Because a lot of us think of it as this evil thing because we see, what all these people in power are doing. They're not making the best decisions for the collective or the planet. But what power is actually just life force. It's energy. It's energy to invoke your will. And so the more power you have, the more energy you have to invoke your will. And how do empaths give away our power? For example, we let people use whatever name they want for us, right? Like sometimes they go by Jennifer, sometimes they go by Jenny. So if someone asks what to call me and I just say, oh, it doesn't matter, whatever you want, right? That's kind of a disempowered way to live if you have a preference. So if you have a preference, you can speak up. Or if you have a name that's hard to pronounce, and you go by a nickname to make it easier on other people, it's okay if that's your preference, but are you choosing the name that you want to be called by, or are you choosing the name that other people, that is easier for other people to call you by? So that's one example. Another example is taking up space. A lot of empaths are not comfortable taking up space. That's literally and metaphorically. So speaking up, being assertive about our ideas, but also just taking up physical space. We say, when we're deciding on maybe going out with a friend on plans, whatever you want to do, which is fine if you don't have a preference. But if you do have a preference and you're saying whatever you want, now we're getting into people pleasing and defaulting to what everyone else wants. That's normal. For empaths to care more about what's best for the group than what's best for us. But it's good practice to actually at least think about, acknowledge, if you have a preference, what is it? And speaking up and saying what that is. So coming into your power means going from a desire to survive into a desire to thrive. Coming into your own power means you're kind of done living in survival mode and you're ready to thrive more. And this can be an uncomfortable process, but also a very empowering one. So empaths are always chameleoning. We're always masking. We're very adaptable. You know, we kind of morph our identities to make everyone else happy and to blend in and to fit in. And so we're always using that chameleon to make everyone else happy, to make everyone else comfortable, and to earn acceptance and approval. So an empowered way to live is, if you are adaptable in this way, to start using that for your benefit instead of the benefit of other people, and allowing yourself to be weird, allowing yourself to make other people uncomfortable, and being okay with alienating people. It's actually a good thing if people self-select themselves out of your life, if they're not in alignment with who you are. Right. But this is a very human, primal need to fit in. Your survival would have been based on it historically. So this is a very difficult, uncomfortable thing to do, to allow yourself to alienate people. We become this way usually because of trauma. And we have these gifts because of trauma. And we are using these gifts for the benefit of others, but we can start to use those gifts for ourselves. If you're good at reading people, how can that benefit you? It doesn't mean you have to be manipulative, but start thinking about, how can these gifts benefit me? And it's okay to keep using them to benefit other people, but also start to think about, how can I use my intuition for me? How can I use my adaptability for me? How can I use my ability to read other people for my benefit and my success? I talked about fear of rejection already, but putting yourself out there is a requirement in consciously creating the life you want. This is extra hard for empaths because for a lot of us, when we used to be vulnerable or tried to be heard, we were shamed, abused, invalidated. And so we've been trained to be scared of putting ourselves out there because we are scared of being shamed, abused, or invalidated. So a big part of this is learning that it is now safe to be ourselves. And you have to really work on your self-trust in trusting yourself to keep yourself safe, and that everything will be okay. Making a bid for power does require sacrifice. It requires risk. Leveling up will always cost you something. It's not rooted in what you can acquire, but what you can let go of. So if you want a better life, you really have to think about, what are you willing to lose? Who are you willing to lose? It can mean the death of an old life. It can mean the death of old relationships. It can come with a crisis of identity and a fear of the unknown, and a lot of grief over losing that old life, those parts of that old life. But high rewards come with high costs. And so in the beginning, success does not feel like winning. Success feels like mourning. And so the bigger the change you're looking for, the more mourning you might have to go through, and the more loss you're probably going to have to weather. So to step into our power, it requires a certain type of rebel energy. That's kind of the energy you want to think about stepping into with this. Mischievous, rebellious. I think all empaths have this kind of muted, but very present inner rebel. And so it's time to start working with that part. And thinking about how assertive people present themselves and how you can start to embody those things. Assertive people have high confidence. They can stand up for themselves. They can express their feelings, and they're okay with being misunderstood. They're not going to fight and over-explain themselves to people who are committed to misunderstanding them. And because their main goal is not to people please, they're skilled communicators, they get to the point, and it actually makes the people around you feel safe, that they can actually trust you to speak up, to speak your mind, to be brutally honest. Because you're not going to give those mixed messages. You're not going to hold on to this hidden resentment. And it's actually a really great way to build trust with people. It means not emotionally monitoring other people, letting people have their emotions and not feeling like you have to make them comfortable or like you have to fix anything. If you have an impulse to ask if people are mad at you, if you are, worried about someone's tone or why they haven't texted back, these are all ways that we emotionally monitor. And it's also a symptom of hypervigilance. So just try to notice these things. It's nothing to be ashamed about. It a lot of times comes from trauma. Being hypervigilant, constantly worried about, what are other people thinking? What are other people feeling? What do I need to do about it? So just try to notice, redirect your attention to yourself. Trust that people are adults, and it is their job as an adult to come to you and speak up to you if there is an issue. If they are not maybe emotionally mature enough to do that, then that's just good information for you to have. And so I kind of want to wrap this up with a note on choice theory. So in choice theory is all about, if you want different outcomes, you have to start making different choices. And the harder the choices are that you're making, the easier your life will be. If you are making easy choices, the harder your life is usually going to be. And so discomfort is the price that you have to pay for solutions to better outcomes. And it's not really the decisions that you're making, it's the energy behind those decisions. You want to think about, are you making decisions from a place of fear, or are you making decisions from a place of empowerment? Because the same decision on the surface can have different energies underneath it. And that energy underneath it is going to make a huge difference in the outcome. So it's not, I'm doing this because I'm afraid. It's, I'm doing this because I want this better life. Okay. And so for your homework, I want you to make a list of the people whose opinions that you care about. And it should be a very short list. And then I just want you to practice when you're making hard decisions, when you're afraid of rejection, are those people on your list? Because those are your people. Those are the people who understand you. Those are the people who respect you. Those are the people whose opinions you respect or have accomplished the things that you want to do. And so if those people that you're worried about are not on your list, then you don't need to worry about their opinion. And that's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you're interested in any of my services, check out my website. Link is in the description. Thanks so much.